Right, time we say hello to our first guest, my first guest, which is former jockey Timmy Murphy, back in the Luck on Sunday studio. Timmy was first in when you initially announced your retirement, which was about 3 or so years ago. It's a different studio then, so welcome along.
Yeah. Times have changed, moved on.
Times changed for you in a big way in the last 3 or so years, or not massively?
Oh, well, I'm doing less driving and less sweating on the bat. So, things have gone... Slow down a lot.
How do you feel a lot healthier physically, mentally now?
I feel fatter anyway for a start.
And we were saying this is whenever, obviously, that we have a good few ex-jockeys on Racing TV, and that there's always that sort of winding of each other up. The fat word gets bandied around. Yeah. You just look healthy.
Well, I ride out with Barry Fenton, so it doesn't make me feel too bad.
Now, on that, he was obviously there yesterday. Emma Lavelle's partner, and they were very emotional after Paisley Park's success. You're riding out there a good bit, aren't you? Yeah,
I used to split my time between Hannon's and Emma's, but now I'm just trying to stick to Emma's during the winter and then maybe Hannon's in the summer. But yeah, look, yesterday was fantastic, and it's probably taken the horse that long to get over the blip he had at the festival, But Barry rides them most days. I'm lucky enough to get spinning them when Barry's on holidays.
You can take the credit.
Oh well, no, I don't like the limelight. But
unless you first sat in when he had the heart problem, then you can't take any credit. Maybe that was it.
We don't mention that.
Yeah.
But no, Barry does a tremendous job with him, and he's just been improving steadily throughout the year, and a lot of it was confidence with the horse. And no, it was absolutely fantastic.
We'll come to it because it was an incredible reception that the horse got there. You've competed across both codes, but there was something so a national hunt about that environment and that feeling. The horse coming back into the winner's enclosure, the crowd literally on first name terms with him because it's just 3 cheers for Paisley. Well done, Paisley. He walked away, people were shouting, "Well done, Paisley." I mean, yeah, it was pretty special to see, and it wasn't lost on Emma.
No, not at all. But he's got a great fan base, and I think it's the way he races as well. Like he never looks quite like he's going to win, and then he always, not always, but when he pulls it out of the bag late on, and he just gets their emotions up. Especially when he was, he's like the champ coming back, and he was being written off by a lot of people, and it was just fantastic to see him back there at the top tier again.
I feel like we've had a change now, given there was a lot of negativity before Christmas about the state of UK jumping, certainly, and the lack of competition. The last few weeks has been golden. We were just saying before we came on air about how it can feel a bit uncompetitive pre-Cheltenham, but the last 2 weeks has been good. But I suppose there are perhaps, even when you were riding in the National Hunt game, there are more opportunities for horses, and there is a little bit less competition before what would appear to be the be-all and end-all of the Cheltenham Festival.
Yeah, look, there's a lot of good races before Cheltenham and after Cheltenham, and it's not the be-all and end-all really, but it is for a lot of people, and I think people would want to get their horses there in the best condition they can get them, and if that is avoiding stiff competition beforehand, we can see their point, But for the public point of view, we want to see the best racing the best all the time.
World Chief was a Cheltenham Festival winner for you, but he was involved in some absolutely sublime 2-mile chases, some of the very best, where he took on some of the best. And it was fantastic. We got that again with the Clarence House, with 2 of the best taking each other on, because Willie Mullins was willing to send one over from Ireland. But I feel like, unless I don't know whether I'm just looking back with rose-tinted glasses, but I feel like it did happen more and more in that 2-mile era, for example, that you were competing in.
Yeah, I don't know whether there was less opportunities, but we always seem to rock up in the same event, and provide a great entertainment.
There is Well Chief. So this was second to Moscow, right?
Yeah, he saw Moscow's backside a lot of the time, I'm afraid.
It's great that I feel that the first bit of footage we show is you finishing second. That's nice of us, isn't it?
Yeah.
We really thought that one through.
You're the first loser.
Yeah. But actually, Barry was there yesterday as well, and watching on all the action. And these were three proper horses.
Yeah.
Looking back to the third, 3 proper 2-mile chasers.
Yeah, look, he was a fantastic horse, and you know the Pipe's done a great job with him because you know he wasn't an easy horse to train. You know, if they had swimming races, he'd have probably been unbeaten because he spent most of his life in the swimming pool. But he wasn't, and Jonathan Lowry used to ride him all the time because he was a tricky horse to ride at home. You know, so it was a big joint effort by everyone.
The reason I'm smiling is because on the back of that, we can hear that roar. That roar is unbelievable.
Yeah.
And we had a bit of it yesterday, obviously not quite the amount of crowd in. But
Yeah.
that roar up the hill, particularly when you've got a horse in front and a horse chasing, or when you've got a horse who the crowd pick up on is going to go past, a bit like Paisley Park.
Yeah.
There's nothing like that.
No. I mean, you got it probably more so in the Tingle Creek when the three of them came to the last together.
Yeah.
You know, that was a fantastic day and fantastic atmosphere.
That was the best. That was the race of the century, wasn't it?
Well, it was probably for me because I wasn't involved in too many other ones, but
I think I feel like it's largely accepted as far as competition goes, the one.
yeah. But I mean, it all depends what era you're in. I mean, I remember Viking Flagship and the finishes he was involved in, and that was the same sort of thing maybe 10 years before that. So,
Was it as much as 10 years before that? Probably was just about.
I think
so. What weight were you doing then?
Oh, that was 12 stone in that race.
Okay, so 12 stone in the champion chase.
Yeah.
Was the allowance different? There's that word, allowance for equipment. Was it slightly different?
I'm not sure if we got. We got. I think it was Was it £2 or £1?
Because it's 3 now.
Yeah. It used to be. It started off 1. You got £1 for your back pad.
Yeah.
And then you got £2 because the back protectors got heavier.
How different was the back pad then?
Not a lot. It was probably 3/4 of a pound lighter.
Right.
So there was less foam, less padding in it. But you know, in my experience, I didn't think it made a whole lot of difference anyway.
No.
If you're going to get a hard enough fall, I think it helps like with glancing blows and that. Look, everything's moved on. Helmets have moved on.
From your point of view, when you've got a horse, so let's say 12 stone, effectively 12.3 as it would be now, how, let's say you're riding a smaller horse, a littler horse, because sometimes we say, well, we worry about the weight because look at the size of the horse. Does it make a big difference, do you think, if you've got a smaller horse carrying a massive weight, or horses by and large half a ton of animal, it's not going to make that much difference?
Well, look, it makes a difference to some horses. I mean, it's like humans, the person with less ability will struggle to carry more weight or more of a workload. It's like, I mean, you've had some fantastic, Chief wasn't a big horse, and they were lumping around 12 stone, albeit everything else in the race was as well. Some horses it makes a difference.
So do you think it boils down to ability over just size, almost a weight and size equation, if you like? You think it's more down to ability?
Yeah, I think in the graded races, maybe handicaps might be a little bit different. If you have a small horse lumping top weight in a handicap, maybe. But I think in the graded races, you see like the fillies there, the last couple of years, as they're getting allowance, but they're not big horses,
When you see the headlines that have come out this week since Tuesday, obviously the riders who made their voices heard on Tuesday, particularly in the flat game, I think it's fair to say, it seems to be more of a visceral reaction from the flat boys and the jumps boys about the minimum weights going up £2 and maximum weights going up £2, and the £3 allowance being done away with. Were you surprised at the level of anger, sort of raw emotion that was out there from the riders, given that you've been in the weighing room?
Not really, no. I mean, I don't speak to too many of the flat guys much anymore, but from being in there, there was like the days of the small little lightweight jockeys are more or less gone, and most of the guys in there will need to lose £1 or £2 every day, and I think it was the fact that they were happy to give up the sauna if you were keeping the allowance. So there must have been a miscommunication somewhere along the way, because all the saunas were being ripped out, and then this was announced, and I think that was the problem. And it's not as if it's not as if someone has gone to the races and been stuck in the sauna for hours and hours. It's just to have it there if you do need, if you arrive and you're half a pound heavy, 15 minutes in the sauna and you're fine.
How important to you was a sauna?
Well, to me, I struggled a bit. You know, I could only lose so much in the sauna. Some people are different to others, but I found having a sweat in the bath was more comfortable than being stuck in a box.
So when you say that was more, you felt particularly uncomfortable in a sauna personally, and so you'd only stay in there for a certain amount of time, or was it just a case that your body would only lose a certain amount in a sauna?
I think £3 was the maximum, and I would have enough then in the sauna.
Okay.
And
how long would that take?
Probably 40 minutes for me. But like, everyone's different. Some people will start sweating on the way to the sauna. I used to start sweating on the way to the bath. You know, so it's whatever you're comfortable with. But it just seems a bit unfair to take away something that's is a tool for a jockey at the races.
I think that it's worth pointing out that I think in the questionnaire that went out, around about 80% of jockeys said they were happy for the saunas to go, as you point out, if the allowance remained, and we know that hasn't happened, and that's something that Dave Yates and I and Richard Wayman of the BHA are going to discuss at length in a little while. And it was also pointed out that there is evidence out there to suggest that the sauna was dangerous. You know, it would hinder reaction times for riders, and also strength. Did after sweating in a sauna for 40 minutes for you, and you lose your £3, did you feel any different? Do you feel particularly different?
No, I mean, where it would, because it's the period before you ride. So if you had to lose your £3 at home before you got to the races, then it'd probably start affecting you more so. Whereas it was, you lost it, you got out, you put on your colours, you went you rode, and then you rehydrated and you continued with your day. But like you're saying, it's dangerous. I mean, you're going to have someone sweating in the car driving along the motorway, you know, in the summer with the heaters on full blast. Is that not a bit more dangerous? No.
Would you sweat in the car?
I used to have to do it, like, because I wasn't comfortable with the sauna, you know. So
that's sweatsuit on in the car, heaters at full blast?
Sweatsuit on in the car, or lots of clothes, and your waterproofs on over it.
Yeah.
But like, they're the extremes, you know. Not everyone has to do that.
But is it on, no matter what weight that you are riding at, are you not always, as a rider, to give yourself the most amount of opportunities to ride lots of different horses? Are you not always going to push yourself to the minimum, no matter what weight you are, whether you've got the allowance or not? Aren't you always going to try and hit the minimum, or not necessarily?
Well, yeah, naturally. What I found was if you try to do too light, then it affects you further on up the scale. So if you're struggling, if you're say you're comfortable doing 9.2 and you're asked to do 9 stone, and then you'll try that bit harder, and then you'll try and do 8.13, and then you try that bit harder, eventually something will break, and then your body will it'll give up. You just can't lose anymore. So that makes doing 9.4, 9.6 the same struggle as it would be to doing your 9.2 originally, you know.
Did your minimum stay pretty consistent over jumps before you decided to embrace the flat game and go even?
Oh yeah, I mean, 10 stone was the minimum, and I was lucky enough that I never had much trouble. I never dieted or had to watch what I ate, so I was spoiled for most of my career. But then I got to feel like what AP and Fitzy and everyone else did when you over jumps. Yeah. When
you decided to go flat. So how much of what weight were we talking you had to lose to then go into the flat game?
Well, so I used to always be about 9, 12, 10 stone, and then I'd have to be 8.13 to do 9 stone.
Right.
But then over time, then that just got more difficult and more difficult.
Yeah, and that is, that's not light for a flat jockey, is it? That is.
Yeah, that's the top end.
That's the very top end.
Top end. But then I think I did start on the flat when I was 40, so I left it a bit late.
Yeah, well, there you go. I see. It's interesting because it doesn't sound like a desirable lifestyle in any way, shape or form. Maybe that's me speaking as somebody that's got pastries sat in front of him and, we're in a position now that we can happily dig into that whenever. But it sounds brutal. It sounds like a horrible way of living. No offence to riders out there where it's your livelihood, but it does. I can't imagine it. And you've got one of your lads out there, for example, who's talking about pony racing, and may well go into that that vocation. Does that worry you at all or concern you?
Not really, because he's not a big lad, and I think I can only talk from my experience when I was growing up, and I never wanted to do anything else. So
right.
I could never understand someone else in class at school not wanting to know or not knowing what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
I always knew what I wanted to do. Whether I was going to be any good at it was anyone's guess, but I always knew what I wanted to do, and I was lucky enough to achieve it.
And are your boys the same?
Yeah, like Lucas is he's adamant that that's the road he wants to go. And the pony racing has been fantastic for both of them and for everyone. It's a great way to get into the business and dip your toe in to see if you like it.
So they're UK pony racing.
Yeah.
And we actually can have a little look. Which one's that?
That's Lucas.
That's Lucas.
Yeah,
God, he looks different now.
Yeah. That's him again. And that's Finn. He, as you can see, he doesn't take it quite as serious. and that's the Shetlands then. They do the Shetlands for the Bob Cancer Trust, the Shetland Grand Nationals. So they're starting young.
So as far as you're concerned, it's a case of if that's what you want to do, off you go for it. If that's all you want to do, 100% behind you.
Yeah, and the pony race is not, anybody can do it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you ride ponies and you have a pony, you just go get qualified and off you go. Compete with whoever you like, and it's open to everybody.
The ponies aren't cheap, mind, are they?
Well, they don't have to be racing ponies. I mean, you can turn up to Finn started on a little skew ball pony he had, and he wasn't very fast, but he got to be competitive. There was someone else in the race at the same level as him. So no, it doesn't have to be a fast pony. You can have your hunter, your show jumper, just get it qualified and off we go. So
I was asking Lucas outside about how, because he's 12. And I have no idea how tall a 12-year-old is meant to be. But the first thing I think whenever you speak to a young lad who wants to be a jockey, you should go, are you too tall?
Yeah.
But he seems like he's going to be all right. But he was saying the average in his class, height-wise, is about 5'5".
I know.
Which is, frankly, frightening. I mean, these kids are quite big. But we're getting bigger. This is something that's been addressed again throughout the week.
Yeah. As a race, we are, and I was surprised when I decided to just have a go at the flat for the last few years of my career, that I wasn't the biggest lad in there.
No.
And I was expecting to go in and be one of the tallest lads, but I was average.
So do you think the weights rise is and for all it's not exactly what the riders wanted, far from it, it's we're over time for it. It's been due because we are naturally getting bigger, and therefore the weights had to go up.
Yeah, you can see a case for, but then you can see a case against for there are people still riding horses that don't struggle with their weight.
But aren't the days of, I think I remember chatting to Franny Norton about this a few years ago, where ultimately it was somebody saying to him, "You're the perfect size to be a jockey, so off you go and do that." That doesn't seem to happen so much anymore now, does it? It's not as if people are plucked out because they're the size they are to go off and be a jockey.
Not so much. I mean, look, the racing schools, do an awful amount, and it doesn't matter what size you are, what family you come from. It's open to everybody. And if you enjoy riding horses or you enjoy working with horses, crack on, go and give it a go.
When you did switch to the flat, obviously you suddenly had to watch what you ate. And you were an older guy then, so you would hope more sensible. But did you ever get to the point where you thought, this isn't sensible? I am not being sensible in trying to achieve this weight?
Well, and obviously in the end, you know, I didn't say, oh, look, I'm not being sensible. I'd do whatever it took, but I just didn't enjoy it anymore.
What would it take when you say do whatever it took?
Well, I lost 11 pounds overnight to ride. I think a 50-1 shot the next day, and it's just when I got to the stage, I don't want to go. I'm not enjoying this, and I always enjoyed racing. I love going racing, love the banter in the weigh room, and then I just got to the stage. I'm going to ride a winner, and that'll be it.
How on earth do you lose 11 pound overnight?
Well, you lose five pound in the bat the night before. Then you'd ride out. I'd ride out in Hannons, and you'd have your waterproofs on, and then you put the heaters on. The car go racing. That'll be another 4, and then finish off in the sauna.
And then think about eating something.
Well, you're more thirst. It's more thirst than food at that stage.
Right.
But yeah, that's the extremes.
And are you conscious about? So you're saying so you're not drinking?
No, you're dehydrated all the time. Yeah.
So, I mean, can you sip of water's all right?
Yeah, you'll be but like
ice cubes.
You're just any sort of liquid whatsoever you're happy with. But like that, as I said, that's the extreme. You know, that was at the end when the end was near for me.
Mm. And then the press come and stick a microphone in your face and wonder why you're grumpy.
I know, I'm always grumpy, but not to do with weight.
But that's it. It's, you know, again, where it's alien to me and a lot of people, it seems. It doesn't seem like a nice way of existing, and that's why I got too much for you. But, as you say, if it's all you want to do, and you love riding horses and you love riding winners, you will do whatever it takes, right?
Yeah, well, look, that's, as I say, I was probably never meant to be a flat jockey, you know. I remember my dad, Lord mercy on him, I got an amateur licence and I went to Dermot Wells, and he says, what are you doing going to Dermot Wells? Like, you're not going to be a flat jockey, you have to be point to points and all that, you know, and that's all I ever wanted to do was, you know, ride jumpers, and I was lucky enough to be successful at it. And then injury obviously came into play, and I had a choice whether to give up or to. I mentioned like the flat because my weight had started to come down, and I said, yeah, we'd have no problem passing you to riding the flat. So that was like a new lease of life for me. It was everything. Every day was a new day. I was learning all the time, and then probably after 2 years, then, you know, the weight started to get an issue, and then it just became hard work. And
you're glad you did it? You went for
it? Delighted, absolutely delighted. Wouldn't have changed it. You know, I met lots of new people, made loads of new contacts, and learnt an awful lot. Like it was, as I say, I was 40. I was retirement age for a jump jockey, and you know, and I got 3 more years out of it.
If Lucas and Finn had to go into to flat or jumps, they might, I don't know, size-wise, they might have to do one or the other, but is there a preference you'd have for them, or whatever they want? Well,
like the longevity on the flat, you know, and if you're successful, you know, is a lot more lucrative. But to ride a jumps winner is way more rewarding.
That's a lovely way to finish, and just as we're leaving January behind, I think, particularly on what we saw yesterday. Great to catch up. Timmy Murphy, thanks very much.
Thanks, Sam.
Great to have Timmy in, and in that seat shortly will be Dave Yates as we're talking more about the weights issue this week. See you shortly.